G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Tara Howell from Blue Derby Pods based in Launceston, Tasmania. Thanks for your time today, Tara.
Thanks for having me, Troy.
I forgot to ask actually before we hit record, you are still based in Launceston or have you moved?
I actually am based just out of Lilydale in a little place called Lalla, also known as Paradise.
Okay, yes. For the audience, there is actually a place in Tasmania called Paradise.
But so just out of Launceston.
Okay, yeah. All right, I was close. Let's start with how we know each other. So I'd heard about you through a few people over the last few years for the great work you do, particularly in business. And I've obviously been a big admirer of the Blue Derby Pods that we're going to talk about today. I've never been there, but everyone raves about it. And last year in our northern meetups in Launceston, both your brothers, Marcel and Adam, would often come along. So that's kind of the connection there.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's that small town family connection. I feel like I know you, but I don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
Yes, so Blue Derby Pods Ride is a luxury adventure mountain biking experience based in Derby, which is in northeast Tasmania. So our guests can join us for 3 or 4 days, and over that time they get to ride the world-class mountain biking trails in Derby. They get to indulge in beautiful Tasmanian food and wine, and of course they get to stay in our wonderful accommodation pods, which are a very unique building, and they are situated in the middle of the forest of the mountain biking network. So that's our business. Yeah. We'll
link through to them in the show notes because they're very impressive. So I assume you designed it when you're at S Group, the pods?
That is a good assumption, but actually no. So Blue Derby Pods Ride, we launched in 2017, but it was quite a few years in the making just to get to that point, 3 or 4 years. So I was about 23, I think, when I took the jump and said, Steve and I said, we're going to start doing Blue Derby Pods Ride.
Wow.
So no, it was actually Philip Light and Architecture, which is another Launceston firm. Mm-hmm. And one of the prerequisites for that build was that everyone had to be or interested in mountain biking. And so Thomas Floyd there ticked that box beautifully.
Oh, great. And your brothers did build the pods? I got that right?
Yes, you did get that right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Ants Construction and A Squared. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, great. Some great feedback from a lot of my northern friends about the work they do up there, and they're obviously very busy. And I keep badgering them about coming on the cast. Maybe one day I can snatch an hour of their time.
You should get them together, have a duo.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Yeah, maybe we'll do it over a beer up north. Yeah. How did you start out?
So I started out, where do you want to start, Troy? I mean, start back from the start, from university days?
Go right back, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so for me, my time in tourism actually started straight out of school. So from grade 12, the next day was guiding on the east coast in Tasmania, the Bay of Fires, and then the overland track in the middle of Tassie. And I did that for a number of years, in and out of studying a Bachelor of Business at the University of Tasmania. And I always knew I wanted to run my own business and have my own business, but I didn't really know what it was going to be. And so I started finding what I was good at and what I was interested in, and that led me working to live with the corporate world, actually in a business consultancy role, but really using my accounting side of my degree and not my marketing side. And what I realized I enjoyed most was the marketing side, not the accounting side. Still a good skill to have though. And that then pushed me to starting my own marketing consultancy after that time. And so I started that in Hobart and had that for a couple of years. And at that same time, that was when I was about 23, I started my consultancy and also started pushing this idea of a luxury mountain biking experience. So as I already said, that took about 3 years to go from, hey, let's do this, to actually getting the business up.
Yep.
And so that time we grew my marketing consultancy, And then we launched Blue Pods Ride, and we ended up actually selling our marketing consultancy into a creative agency in Tasmania called S Group, where I worked for a couple of years as the director of brand and marketing there, and then finished up my time 2 years ago there to focus solely on Blue Pods Ride. And in amongst also that time, I also founded a really cool hotel alongside a couple of great business people in Launceston, and that hotel's called Change of a Night. And so I founded and started that, and then I sold out of that at a really fortuitous time just before COVID.
Oh no.
But that business is still going really well, and it's got a really great idea behind it. Yeah.
Maybe just tell the audience a bit about Change Hotel.
Yeah, sure. So Change Overnight is, the idea is that or the positioning line is, it's a better night's sleep. So every night there's a small portion of the nightly rate that goes towards a charity, and there's a small handful that we selected. They range from, helping world poverty to helping the environment here in Tasmania. So the idea is, rather than just having a sleep in any hotel, you can have a really nice hotel but also give back.
Yep. Yeah, great. So if my maths are correct, and I've had enough coffee today, it was 2014 that you started when you were 23?
Yes. Yep. 2014. Yes.
Right. And where did the entrepreneurial spirit come from? The parents, business owners?
Yes, I think so. We grew up, all our family, I grew up in a family business, and so our life and my life has always been around business, and I really love that. I think it was a really defining point of my childhood. And obviously my brothers, we've already spoken about, are in business, and they have taken on the family business and are doing really wonderful things there. But I didn't want to go into the family business. I wanted to do my own thing. There's always one black sheep in the family. No, not I am, but that's the reality. And so I think it definitely came from my family. Yeah.
Great. And I must say, I've got a business degree majoring in accounting. That's one of my degrees, but I don't know of many people that have done both accounting and marketing. I thought they were incongruent or mutually exclusive.
Yeah. And, a lot of people have said that. And the only reason I chose both of them is I thought, well, if I want to run my own business, I probably need to know about both.
Absolutely. It's a great call. Yeah. Do you have some key numbers to share to illustrate the growth of the business over the last 4 years?
Yeah, absolutely. So Blue Pods Ride, I think there's a couple of ways to best demonstrate. I know you like to look at FTEs here. And obviously when we started, it genuinely was Steve, myself, and we had one other experienced leader. And that's how we rolled for our first whole season, and we did everything. And so now it's probably around 6 FTEs, I'd say. Obviously our business is seasonal, and they're all casuals, but that's how I'd say. And I think another way of demonstrating it for your listeners is just the number of trips we run. So when we started, through our peak season, we'd run 1 trip a week. And then that would filter out basically all the way to winter, when we'd stop completely. We now run all year round, and we have back-to-back trips for 9 months of the year, and then in winter we have 1 trip a week. So I think that's a really good way of showing.
That's phenomenal growth. And it's great to see a lot of mountain bike areas popping up around Tasmania. Obviously, St. Helens on the east coast there is another big area. Queenstown, I think they've just had some more trails come online, and Maydena down south here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's contributed to our growth. The industry when we started was very, premature essentially compared to where it is now. And it's definitely part of the reason why we've grown. Yeah.
When was the moment you felt like you'd succeeded?
Do I have to have had that moment, or could it be no?
No, the next question is what does success look like? But have you had any moments in any of the businesses or your career, I guess, where you felt like you had succeeded?
Absolutely. I can think of a couple of different moments. In my marketing consultancy life, which, was a big part of my career, I definitely had some aspirations to have large national clients. And there were, points there. There was a couple of points where I really was like, okay, I've sealed that deal. That's an amazing thing. And I can feel like I've accomplished that. And with Blue Pods Ride, it's been not so specific, but when we've clicked into that gear of just having consistency. It's all rolling, it's all working. And that's really been the last, probably 18, 24 months that's really happened now. And I can't think of a specific point, but I know there's been a moment where Steve and I have looked at each other and go, this is what we imagined, this is what we planned for.
That's great. And so even through COVID, like you guys didn't take much of a hit in bookings over the last, it's 22 months now?
Yes, absolutely. We have. But I suppose what we've been very fortunate about is when borders are open, we've been completely full.
Yeah.
And so that's been a really wonderful benefit, I suppose, for our offering. People have been cooped up in houses in cities, restricted, and they've started mountain biking.
Yep.
So there's been even a higher demand in some ways, yeah.
And did you find interstate travel, like Tasmanians the state was locking everyone out. Did you find more bookings from locals?
Definitely, but we also created a Tasmanian only offering. So we, at the start of COVID, decided that we needed to create something that Tasmanians would absolutely snavel up and want to do. Yep. And so that's how we took up the Tasmanian market. Yeah.
Interestingly, I heard John Fitzgerald, the CEO of Tourism Tasmania, speak on a podcast about a year ago, and he said the 5 years leading up to before COVID hit, intrastate travel, so Tasmanians travelling around Tasmania, were growing at 11% per annum each year for those 5 years. So sounds like even before COVID, and obviously the buy local and experience local movement has been huge everywhere around the world, but we certainly found that as an island state here in Tasmania.
Absolutely.
What does success look like to you?
It's a really big question. I think for me, success isn't about hitting a certain amount of money or, this many projects on the go or, a certain title. For me, success is really about being happy every day in what I'm doing.
Yep.
And that's what I feel like I've been very, very lucky to have created.
Perfect question for you on a few fronts here, but number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast growing business?
Yeah, look, so marketing, I think, is something you can get really right or really wrong. And for someone wanting to market a fast growing business, I think the number one thing you have to do is speak unapologetically to your target market and your target market only. So literally be cruel and remove anyone else who might slightly not be that, and go for gold only in your market, and ensure that you're not just talking to yourself. I think that's the most common thing I've seen in mistakes in businesses. They just try and be all things to all people, and that is not going to work.
Yeah, I made that mistake certainly early on in my business career. Jack of all trades, master of none. You've really got to focus so you can focus even your vocabulary, the words you use, and where you choose to place your ads, for example, and the communication style is more, it resonates more with that smaller audience that you're going after. It's so very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you guys have maxed out pretty much, does that mean you've had to tail back your marketing?
No, I'm still going pretty hardcore on my marketing. I love that creative angle of our business. And if we're not, pushing to fill the next spots or the next, availability, we're then pushing to fill leads. So creating different lead generation tools, or pushing to fill a wait list.
Yep.
So that's absolutely where we're at now. It's just, we're just trying to, fill it everything as much as we can. And then, as I said, fill it more, basically.
Yep. And is it mainly just social or online ads, or you throw a bit of PR in there as well, press releases or even paid print advertising?
There's 3 core areas that we really work in. I have never paid for anything traditional, and I never will. So PR has been a huge part of our strategy, obviously, and we've done that from the start, a big PR strategy. Then there's digital elements. So we've got a pretty strong or very strong social presence, but more so we use social media as a lead generation tool. So getting people to come into our kind of sales funnel, essentially. And then SEO and Google Ads, that element, that's obviously huge as well. And I'm sure anyone who's playing that space would have seen how much that grew over COVID. People were searching so much online and spending their time online. So yeah, there really are three areas that we spend all our time and energy.
Right. And so you do have a big focus on building your email list as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean by sales funnel. Absolutely. Like getting people in the start, 100%. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of people wouldn't realize, but email marketing is still the best return. I think a Direct Marketing Association survey in the US last year showed that for every dollar you invest in email marketing, you get $44 back, whereas social ads are 22, SEO is 20, and it gets lower and lower from then on. So yeah, email lists and marketing are hugely important.
Yeah, and there's some incredible software that you can use to help generate leads into the email marketing, and it's so amazing and scarily creepy how good it is.
I know. Yeah. You use the Net Promoter Score at Blue Derby Pods there. What's your most recent number?
Yes, we do. So we ask every guest to rate us on our NPS, and you know what? We've never had anything but 10 out of 10. So that is our score. 10.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
and you would have had in 4 years, I'm guessing, well over, because it's groups of people. So what, over
yeah.
1,000, more than 1,000 people, and you've never got anything other than a 10.
No, we never have.
Wow.
I know, and I'm really like anxiously waiting for it, and it's almost become quite a pressure within this team because everyone knows we've never had anything but that. Yep.
That is phenomenal. For the audience, that's a positive 100. It's not a percentage. And the way to work it out, it's the one question you may hear it in some big companies. Apple use it, the telco here, Telstra, for example, small businesses too. And McKinsey created it in the 90s. It's simply, how likely are you to recommend us to a friend or colleague between 0 and 10, not 1 and 10, 0 and 10. And then you just take the 9s and 10s who are promoters of your business, and you deduct from that percentage, from that number, the number of detractors, who is anyone that's given you between 0 and 6. 7 and 8 in the middle there are called passives. They don't really talk about you either way. So you ignore those, and you either then come up with a positive or negative number. It's really hard to hit even positive 30, let alone 50 or 70, but to have positive 100 over 4 years. I mean, you've been using it pretty much since the start.
From the start. Oh. Yeah, from the start. It was because of my business consultancy days. Yeah. That's what we used to advise to clients. So right. That's how I integrated in. And yeah, from the start, we've never had anything but. And yeah, it's actually something I don't talk about too much because I'm like a little bit embarrassed because it's almost sounds far-fetched, like you're surprised, but it's really genuine. So
well, I'm going to go and do the pods next year and leave you a 9.
Okay, good. That might just make me feel a little bit more normal.
Yeah. Well, seriously, well done to you and Steve and the team. That's a phenomenal result. That is tremendous. How did you fund the business?
Yes, so we funded the business 3 different ways. So one, we were really lucky to get a federal government grant. So that was 1/3 of the funding. The other third came from Steve and I just personally and our own money. And the other third, we got a bank loan.
Oh, great. So no other investors, just you and Steve?
No, you know what? It wasn't through a lack of trying. We tried really hard, and there are probably some local people that you've interviewed, I'm pretty sure there are actually, who we tried to get to invest with us.
Yep.
But looking back at my pitch document was awful. And I think in hindsight, it's been awesome because it is just Steve and I, and we feel very lucky now. But, at the time it wasn't right, so it doesn't matter.
If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
Absolutely. I absolutely love the tourism industry. I am deeply involved being the Deputy Chair of the Tourism Industry Council, Tasmania, and, in the mountain biking industry with a peak body there. I absolutely love the tourism industry. Yeah.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Yes. For me, the most stressful thing, and I'm not sure this resonates with everyone, but for me, it's been about self-doubt. And I suppose because we started an idea that hadn't been done before, we had a lot of people challenging us, and so doubting that the idea would work. And then as the business grew, obviously you get more confidence, and now I feel very confident talking to you today, but I couldn't have done this 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago. Yeah, so it's just been self-doubt for me and having to, yeah, just continue back the what I believe in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's not even just the ups and downs in business, which knocks that doubt right into you when you've really stuffed something up. But there's also the genuine imposter syndrome. I've had
Yes.
quite a few guests on that think, especially after some success, they start to think, well, I don't deserve this success. It's quite common.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
I think the area that we work on the most, I think the questions you've had to work on the most, but I think what we just work on the most is um, guest experience and ensuring our guests have the most incredible time. Our number one mantra with our staff is guest focus, guest first.
Yep.
If something happens, like we're out doing mountain biking, it's an extreme sport, things happen regularly. It's like sacrifice yourself, what's best for the guests, sacrifice this, what's best for the guests. And that's a really big cultural thing. And yeah, we've had to put a lot of work into ensuring that is always the focus. Yeah.
What have you enjoyed least about managing fast growth?
The least, well, enjoyed least. It's, I don't know if there's anything I enjoyed least, but I suppose if I had to put something on it, I think it would be the pace that comes with it means that you have to learn quickly and you often feel a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And so that can be, that increases stress levels. So I think it's just that feeling of like, having to learn like that duck,
Yep.
on top, but underneath that's for me, I think, been, the hardest.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
I absolutely love that we get, in our industry, tourism, and what we get to do is we get to be on that guest's highlight reel for the rest of their life.
Yep.
Like, it's so special. People look back in their life and they think about all these wonderful moments in their life, and it might be a birth of a child, it might be getting married, and they often think about an incredible holiday they had.
Yes.
And that's pretty bloody special.
It is. Yeah. What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
Biggest mindset shift is actually been a recent thing from me is, although I've grown up in business and have family around me who business, is I've never really identified myself as a business person and being like, actually, yeah, I really like business. I really enjoy business and I'm a business person, and actually embracing that and think I can add value there. That's been quite a mind shift for me. Yeah.
Yeah. What is the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
I think that they need to be absolutely dogged in sales.
Mm-hmm.
That is for me, like, I absolutely love sales and thrive on it. And I think if you're not, it's not going to work. You've got to be all about that. Yeah.
Be the change you want to see in your business. Become more productive and less stressed with our free Transform Your Performance online course. Once you see the benefits, put your entire team through the course at no cost. We start out by telling you the secret to guaranteed success, then over 100 lessons help you be more focused, present, productive, and feel more in control about work. growasmallbusiness.com.
Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
Yes. So how we've grown our people, is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, or how you found good people or maybe some didn't work out.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have grown, we've always advertised for staff and then grown as we've needed. And obviously you heard our FTEs earlier, but we actually have about 20 on our books.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, I think the biggest thing for us is we are a values-based organisation. So we have a set of values that we introduce to even our guests at the start of our experience. And that's what we're doing as part of our recruiting. We're checking if that person fits in with those values and obviously then our purpose and our vision. And I think that's been the biggest thing to getting the right people. When we've made some mistakes, and we have made a couple in recruitment, it's because we haven't really trusted ourselves that those people actually don't align with those values.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's definitely where the mistakes happened. Yeah. Mm.
What are some things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Well, I probably just answered that question as part of that one, but I think that to have a great culture, firstly, I really do believe culture comes from the top.
Mm-hmm.
So the way you behave and the way you act around your team, the energy you put off will be how your team is. So if you want to have a really fun, engaging, playful team, well, you need to be all those things too. And then I think having those guiding parameters of actually having a values-driven culture is great. Our values are fun, inquisitiveness, adventure, trust, balance, and sustainability. And we have metrics around those. And that just gives an awesome parameter to say, when you come to work, these are the values that you take on board, and this is how you behave. And then that obviously will hopefully, and for us, helps achieve our purpose and achieve our vision. Yeah.
Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
So work-life balance, I think that this has been up and down for me in my career. Like I definitely learnt the hard way and had some multiple times where I've had genuine burnout.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I've got to the point now where I actually hate the term work-life balance.
That's why it's just, I say balance. Yeah.
My preferred is work-life cohesion. And I think what I actually fell into the trap of is because you're a business owner, you have a lot of flexibility to when you can and when you don't work. And the reality is you're going to be thinking about your business all the time. But if you feel like you have to be in the trap of 9 to 5, which is kind of how I felt, then you're actually end up working nonstop because you're also thinking here and thinking there. And on the weekends, you're doing this little job and this and that. Yeah. And so I have managed it now by saying, okay, my life and my work is just all one, and I do what is needed when it's required. Yep. And then therefore I give myself permission to need the rest when I need it, and I work hard when I need to. And I feel a lot more balanced now.
Did you struggle with getting out of that 9 to 5 mentality and feeling okay about taking an hour or two off during the day to go and do something? Did that take a while to get rid of?
Yes. It took ages to get rid of. And It's only really been the last couple of years that I've been comfortable with that, because it's not what everyone else is doing. Well, you feel like everyone else is doing. And there's this expectation that you have to be at work on a Monday and you finish this time, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is what you have to do as a business owner is just get your job done. You don't have to be locked into your hours. And as soon as I actually accepted that and I realized that, I've had so much better balance in my life. Yeah.
I had so many ghosts of girlfriends in the past, lecturing me on work hours and whatever. But I've certainly worked too many hours early on in my career. But more in recent years, I'm a big fan of what I call time shifting. So I'll just, I pick my daughter up from school the weeks I have her and we hang out, and I will make up those hours on the weekends that I don't have her. So I will work on a Saturday and a Sunday morning. And because I have the greatest energy then and for focus, so it works on several levels, but I still just work a 42-hour week.
Yeah.
It's just all over the shop.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point, it doesn't work, the shifting of hours, because energy levels do change. Like, why do we assume we're going to have the best level of energy 9 to 5, especially when you're thinking about your business all the time?
That's it.
So it's a good thing to accept.
Yeah. How much professional development have you invested in yourself?
So I think regularly, a bit over time. I mean, early on, obviously did more training and courses, and haven't taken further when I felt they were appropriate. But I do my own self-directed stuff a lot. Like, I'm an avid reader, an avid listener of podcasts, and have some really wonderful business relationships with colleagues to be learning from people, and try and take the hat that I'm a lifelong learner and I don't know anything or everything, and so I'm always trying to learn from someone. So
That's good. That's one of the best habits you can build early on in your business career, I believe, just continual learning. Have you had mentors or coaches along the way?
Yes, I have. So I've had some formal mentors through a really wonderful University of Tasmania mentor program, and I was very, very, very fortunate that my mentor that I was matched with, who mentored me for, still does really, but many, many years formally, my first email to him back and forward was titled Tara's Tassie Bike Tours. So I divulged all my ideas to him. He was the first person, and he really 100% set me on path to doing what I'm doing today. And then I've had informal mentors, in particular in the tourism industry, and just reaching out to people, but officially saying I really would love your mentorship if possible. And absolutely, yeah.
It's good for the audience. You'd be surprised how many people are happy to give of their time, even once a month, for a lunch or a coffee or a beer. Particularly experienced business owners that are further down the road than you, they're more than happy to give back and help you not make the mistakes they've made, or avoid some of the ones they can see coming.
Yeah, and I think though, one thing that I have also done is reached out to people who are in different younger stages than me, because I get a lot from that as well. Mentorship doesn't have to be just because they're older.
No, that's right. I've been mentoring for probably 15, 16 years, and I still do it. I did it when I was in London, but also here in Tassie the last 10 years. And I always get something out of that time that I invest in those people. I learn new things, build the network. It's great. It's a great thing to be doing.
Mm.
Do you have a board of directors or advisors?
No, we don't.
Now, you're one of the few we've had on that's exited 2 businesses, actually. So change overnight and exiting.
Echelon Marketing was my consultancy, yeah.
Exited that into S Group. So can you got any advice for our audience about exiting, what you do differently, or, for those listening that may be thinking about exiting in the future?
Yeah. So one of your past people you've interviewed, Rod Askwey, actually helped some perspective around this for me. So I think firstly, you can be in business a number of ways. One is you can be in business to have that business for your whole life and to ride the ups and downs of that business your whole life. And if that's what you want to do, that's great. But you can also be in business to grow a business and to build it to a certain point that you feel that's to your capability or to your expertise or to your appetite, and then sell it on to someone else will be able to build that bigger than what you want to. And for me, I'm the latter. So I really enjoy the challenge of starting and building a business when it's young. And so with my consultancy, Echelon Marketing, I had no desire to build it into a large creative agency, which S Group and Sam had already done. So there was a no-brainer for me to see if I could sell that into another business. And the same with Change Overnight. That happened a lot quicker than what I've expected, but I didn't, that vision for Change Overnight was always to go global, big, and Sam and Toby were always going to do that bigger than I was going to. Like they're just braver than I am in that respect. So I think advice is really early on recognizing what you want to be doing, because you're going to change, you change the way you do business depending on what mindset you have. I think you set your business up better, faster, if you're thinking of selling at some point. Yeah,
definitely. And it's great advice from Rod. He's a mutual friend of ours. I actually saw him last week in the Northern Meetup. We played a bit of golf together. I actually interviewed him, episode 7. We're on King Island playing golf. We're just in a very windy clubhouse. We did that interview on, really early on, with Stillwater Restaurant and Black Cow, and obviously Stillwater 7, the premium accommodation they launched a few years ago. And then having Craig and Bianca both on as well afterwards. It's Rod's obviously a very humble but wise business person, so you're very lucky to get advice from him early on.
Yeah, it really gave me very good clarity on what I wanted to do in business, and I was like, okay, I know where I sit.
Yeah, because it was nearly 40 years. He started Stillwater in 1983 from memory, and he only sold out to Craig and James and Bianca a couple of years ago, which Craig talks about in the cast. Yeah. All right, Tara, one of our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
I have spoken about this a little bit, but for me, it's the unknown that it's going to work.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
So I don't think this is a business book, but it's one that has definitely helped me the most. It's called The Courage to Be Disliked. I'm not sure, I don't know the author, slips my mind, but we'll be able to find it, I'm sure, and you better throw it in the show notes. It's really great for you making sure you're unapologetically yourself every day.
Great. I'm going to add that one to my list. Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
I listen to a lot of different podcasts, and they really vary depending on what I'm feeling, what I'm learning about. I think I mean, obviously my own podcast is number one, but I think at the moment I've been listening a lot to Sarah Wilson's, it's called Wild. It's interesting things about climate change and all that kind of stuff. And I suppose I throw that in as a business thing because I think it's important to know what's happening in the world to be able to respond right in your business. So that's why I always have diverse kind of range. Yeah.
We'll tell our audience a bit about your, excuse me. Tell our audience a bit about your podcast because we'll link through to that in the show notes as well.
Well, our vision at Blue Pods Right is to inspire a global community of flow seekers. So that's our number one thing. And our positioning line is to experience the flow. So our podcast is called Flow Seekers, and we interview people from all different interesting parts of the world, but they are people who have found or are finding flow or are experts in flow. So that's the podcast.
Right. How long ago did you launch that?
Only about 6 months, actually. Yeah.
Great. I'll have a listen to that. One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
So this is an interesting tool. For me, you have to be able to run your business really well. I think to be, enjoying business, you have to really understand what your personal values are, and then you can put it into your business values to a certain extent, like I said. And there's this book called from the wonderful Hannah Maloney, it's called The Good Life. She's a Hobart horticulturist, I suppose, permaculturist actually, and she is also in Gardening Australia, but she's got this great book all about how to define your values, and I found that as an awesome tool to actually do that. Yeah.
Right. Well, we'll link through to that one as well. Finally, my favourite question, what would you tell yourself on day one of starting out?
This is something that I still tell myself, and because I think that you can get caught up in the wrong way, and that is you've got to stay humble. You're not a big deal. And I'm not saying that I think I am, I'm saying it's because I see lots of people who just really forget that we're pretty small people, in a really small pond, and just like whatever the saying is, just keep your feet on the ground while shooting from the stars. Keep your feet on the ground. Yeah,
good advice. Well, thanks for your time today, Tara. I think the audience get a lot of value out of what you shared with us. Congratulations to you and Steve and the team. It's phenomenal growth in the last 4 years, let alone what you did with your previous 2 businesses as well. So I really appreciate you sharing all that with us, and all the best.
Thanks, Troy.
And for our audience, we'd greatly appreciate a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. More reviews means we bubble up higher in iTunes, etc. So more business owners looking for podcast help with their growth will find us.